All right, folks. Hope everybody's having a wonderful Wednesday, late afternoon. Let me get this one started, folks. This is going to be. I thought about how do I want to do this video as a rebuttal to Rabbit Room Apologetics and Mark Bates. But then, upon reading Proverbs 9, Proverbs 9, beginning verse 7, Proverbs 9, 7 through 8. This is Proverbs 9, 7 through 8. He that corrects a scoffer gets to himself reviling, and he that reproves a wicked man gets himself a blot. Talk to the hand. Reprove not a scoffer lest he hate you. I do not want Mark Bates at Rabbit Room Apologetics to hate me. That's not what my intent is. But when I see the scriptures here that are active and alive saying that reprove not a scoffer lest he hate you, but reprove a wise man and he will love you. Verse 9, I'll even add verse 9, give instruction to a wise man and he will be yet wiser, teach a righteous man and he will increase in learning. Right there, I ask myself, I'm not really getting that from Rabbit Room Apologetics. It seems like I'm just getting this hated jealousy, that kind of wisdom. This is what I stick with James 3:13 through 18 to identify maybe I'm wrong. And man, I have no hated jealousy for Rabbit Room Apologetics at all, because there's a lot of stuff on there that is good stuff. Second Temple period Judaism and its context is relevant. There is information and wisdom in there that helps a Bible student understand things better. Okay, it's only a small portion of a much bigger wheel, which is the spirit of knowledge and wisdom of Yahweh. But it's, again, only a smaller portion. But there is good stuff, but it can be turned also into evil. And that's what I'm getting. As far as COVID-19 pandemics are concerned, that's not a subject that I approached Mark Bates at Rabbit Room Apologetics on. It's something, I guess, in his retaliation, he trying to find cracks in armor. And by the way, you will find cracks in armor. I'm not perfect. On one of my videos, without even finishing the matter, which was about Acts 10, kill and eat. Now, the subject of COVID-19, if for those that have seen my videos over the last 5-6 years, they're very passionate because they're real. I'm not afraid to say that. So real quickly, the reason why I'm going to put this video out is because there's a lot of innocent people out there that may see the conversation I had between me and Rabbit Room Apologetics and his alleged academic evaluation, which was no academic evaluation, because he's not even stating correctly what was in the video that's in question. I just did a video about that already, so that's not that's vain deceit, if anything. But one of the points that he states on here, and this is going to be, again, I did mention I was going to be eager to rebuttal this, so I'm not going to do due diligence on the subject because the notes are extensive. One of the things that he's insinuating on my video, that video that we're talking about here, folks, is the Last Supper and COVID-19. Again, I put it on my, it's open domain, folks. You can see it on my YouTube account, or even on my Facebook. Feel free. But the one thing that he's addressing is his second point, which is conflating biology and spiritual defilement. Okay, conflating biology and point number 2, conflating biology with spiritual defilement. Luke 5. Matter of fact, I might be able to pull this up. There we go. So you can see what he's stating. Let me pause the video real quick.
What is going on?
Okay, again, it's off the video, The Last Supper and COVID-19. What he's stating, as I scroll down to the comment, you can see that way. You can see, there you go. This first point, again, which was nothing but vain deceit, there's no, I never mentioned Luke 13, 1 through 5 once in that video. That was the Holy Spirit doing his job. But anyway, the second point that he's bringing out, folks, that's the one that I'm going to focus on. Conflating biology with spiritual defilement, Luke 5 and Mark 7. Okay. What he's going to say here is you repeatedly use Yahshua's interactions with lepers, Peter walking on water, and the raising of Lazarus to argue that faithful believers should ignore physical health measures. You also quote Luke 5:31, those that are well have no need of a physician, but those who are sick, implying that healthy believers who take preventative vaccines lack faith. First thing, I'll stop right there. That is incorrect. This is again wisdom with partiality, a twisting of words. I'm going to show you why. And we're going to come right back to that point there, folks. All right. For those of y'all who are on my Facebook, or those who have looked at my videos on YouTube throughout the years, one thing that I am not afraid to admit, and I'm because there is no shame on this one, I have been very, very clear and consistent on this statement. I mean, very clear and consistent. This is my oldest video that I have on my YouTube and on my Facebook. This video, I'll pause it right here. Science Investigate, Yao Interprets. This video, folks, was right after the onset of COVID-19. This video is 5 years old. It is my oldest video. Don't even live in this place anymore. Okay, this was 5 years ago. It was my first video. Now the video is going to show 2 years. That's because my Facebook account was hacked. But this video, folks, is 5 years old. It was actually my first video that I had ever put out in regards to COVID-19 and faith. It's entitled Science Investigate, Yao Interprets. I want you to hear what I'm stating at this portion. I won't let you hear the whole, again, feel free to look at it. It's in my YouTube account. Okay? Feel free to look at it in its entirety. But notice what I'm going to say right here at this point of this video.
I am not attacking anybody for getting the vaccine. So first things first, guys, if you chose through faith to get vaccinated, I support you. Man, I applaud you. I applaud you. If you feel that God gave us the vaccine, common sense, to take the vax through faith to protect you from COVID, I applaud you. I will not, oh, you're going to be, no, oh no, I have no authority to tell anybody that. I have no power to say that. That's ridiculous. I support, I've always said that. But when society decided that, well, now we're going to go after the ones that are not vaccinated through faith, and they tried to justify it, they met a big roadblock. I'm one of them. And trust me, you walk out that door with things you didn't even know about. So I'm not afraid.
That I've been very consistent on. So Mark Bates is, again, bringing his vain deceit into this topic, and I'm going to say this again 5 years later. If you took the COVID-19 vaccine, or if you take vaccines in general, because you believe by faith that Yahweh sent those vaccines, or gave scientists the wisdom to make those vaccines to help protect you from diseases. If you are doing that by faith, I salute you. I applaud you again. Okay? And the reason why I'm doing that is because of what Paul says over in, I've been consistent with that in all of my videos and what I have been saying since COVID-19 began. Okay? That's why I'm showing you that oldest video. So that video right there is 5 years old, if I recall right. In Romans 14, we see Romans 14, verse 23, but he that doubts is condemned if he eats, because he eats not of faith, and whatever is not of faith is sin. You could back up to verse 22, Romans 14, 22. The faith which you have between yourself and Yahweh. The faith that you have to yourself before Yahweh. Happy is he that judges not himself in that which he approves. Okay? So in other words, if you believe by faith that taking vaccines, okay, are going to protect you from diseases because Yahweh sent that vaccine for you. Again, I salute you. I'm not condemning you. That's not where I'm coming from. What Mark Bates fails to do, because he has wisdom filled with partiality, is he fails to listen to what I'm saying. The issue is, and this is where it's sad, because Rabbit Room Apologetics, again, I'm at the point now where I'm not going to give the benefit of the doubt. They're well aware of the history of how COVID-19, it was the unvaccinated that were getting ridiculed by people that were taking the vaccine through faith. In other words, if you think about if you just think about that, if you take vaccines, or if you took the COVID-19 vaccine by faith, because you believe God is going to protect you from COVID-19 because of that vaccine that you took, I salute you. When you begin supporting for mandates for people who by faith chose not to take the vaccine, which is their prerogative, because you're afraid that the vaccine that you took by faith is not going to protect you, then your faith is mute. Your faith is small. In other words, that's flat out. Anything without faith is sin. In other words, that's where you're wrong now. I mean, what you're saying is now, remember, if you took the vaccine because you believe God is going to protect you from COVID by faith, because you took the vaccine, then why are you afraid of the unvaccinated? Because you don't really believe God's going to protect you when you took that vax. Well, then that's little faith. That's not having faith. It wasn't the unvaccinated criticizing people getting vaccinated, Mark. It was people that were unvaccinated, that were vaccinated, that were criticizing the unvaccinated. That was the one. Oh, thank you, Miha. Appreciate that. Thank you. My dinner. Thank you, Miha. Y'all bless you. Appreciate that. Thank you. Always good to have dinner. With all that being said and done, that's what you got going on in that situation right there. So, getting back to this statement. Let's get back over to the video. Again, that's why I brought up the oldest video that I could find in my archives, which is that one right there. No, I've been very, very consistent on there. So now, again, again, if you've been watching my videos, folks, and you bump into this commentary, understand, problem number one with Rabbit Room Apologetics is, number one, they claim that I am asserting Luke 13, 1 through 5 in this video, which you can't find. Nowhere did I bring up Luke 13, 1 through 5 in that video. That's feigned deceit. Second problem is now they're asserting that, and their second point, what he's stating is conflating biology with spiritual defilement. Luke 5, Mark 7. You see where he's bringing up Luke 5:31, that you repeatedly use Yahshua's interactions with lepers, Peter walking on water. Notice what he's accusing me of the Messiah's interaction with lepers, Peter walking on water, which was a situation involving Yahshua the Messiah. Again, notice Yahshua the Messiah with lepers, Yahshua the Messiah and Peter walking on water. The raising of Lazarus from the dead. Again, Yahshua the Messiah raising Lazarus from the dead. Okay. To argue that faithful believers should ignore physical health measures. Nope. That is not what I said. If you took the COVID-19 vaccine or vaccines, because you believe by faith that Yahweh sent you that vax to protect you. I salute you. I've been consistent for 6 years upon doing that. Me, myself, even going all the way back to my Messianic years, my mother would always get me vaccine exemptions when I was in school. This goes back to 1980. It's something that I always kept true, even in my dark years, like I call them, after my Messianic years. I still kept to kosher, and also, not that I'm conflating this with the kosher laws. I'm not doing that. And also with not getting vaccinated. Okay, you also quote Luke 5:31, which says, "Those that are well have no need of physician, but those that are sick." This is again Yahshua the Messiah. Notice everything that I'm bringing up, from Yahshua with the lepers, Yahshua and Peter walking on water, Yahshua bringing back Lazarus from the dead, Yahshua saying the healthy have no need. Everything I'm bringing up is Yahshua the Messiah. What is Rabbit Room going to say? This demonstrates a failure to distinguish between spiritual realities and biological providence. Wow. Now, first things first, folks. What is biological providence? Okay, let me help. Just help out, folks. Just to help out, because again, I am not the sharpest tool in the shed. I'm with you. I'm not. I'll be the first one to tell you. I got to look at things up myself. But again, just to help out the average person, this is what biological providence is. Biological providence refers to the theological and philosophical intersection of the biological sciences, such as evolution, and natural selection, with the concept of divine providence. Notice what Rabbit Room Apologetics is bringing up. Okay? Biological providence refers to the theological and philosophical intersection of the biological sciences, such as evolution and natural selection, with the concepts of divine providence. It addresses the philosophical debate on whether, notice how it's the philosophical debate on whether biological processes point to a purposeful director, creator, or, in other words, Yahweh, the Father who created all things, or if they are simply the result of unguided random mechanisms. That's what this is all about, folks. Biological providence. Now, let's go back to what Mark Bates is saying at Rabbit Room Apologetics. What am I guilty of? I'm guilty of bringing up Yahshua's interaction with lepers, Yahshua's interaction with Peter walking on water, Yahshua's interaction of bringing Lazarus back from the dead, Yahshua specifically stating in Luke 5:31, the healthy have no need of physician, only the sick. Therefore, because I did all that, that demonstrates a failure to distinguish spiritual realities with biological providence. Now, let's go to Colossians 2:8. This is just, I'm astonished. I give Yahweh all the credit because it's just proving the point. It's so undeniable. In Colossians 2:8, Paul warns us about that kind of foolishness from Rabbit Room Apologetics. In Colossians 2:8, this is what we're going to find. Okay. Now notice everything that he's accusing me that I brought up. Okay. Yahshua the Messiah, Yahshua the Messiah, Yahshua the Messiah, and Yahshua the Messiah. Okay, you can see that clearly in the screen. But I'm wrong because of evolution. In other words, again, you saw the whole what he's asserting. The reason why I'm wrong is because of biological providence. Biological providence, which refers to the theological and philosophical intersection of biological sciences such as evolution and natural science with the concept of divine providence. It addresses the philosophical debate on whether biological processes point to a purposeful, directed creator, or if they are simply the result of random circumstances, random mechanisms. Colossians 2:8. Take heed, lest there shall be anyone that makes spoil of you, like Robert from Apologetics, through his philosophy. Okay? And he's in his videos, notice, my philosophy, but the Scott, all that contextualization, the sciences, all that philosophy, vain deceit after the traditions of men, the sciences, after the rudiments of this world. Let's take a look at this, folks, in the Strongs. When Paul is referring to rudiments of this world, okay, that word is number 4747 in the Strongs. Number 4747 in the Strongs. After the rudiments of the world. When you look at that, folks, that is stoichion. Stoichion. Number 4747. Neuter of a presumed derivative of the base of 4748. Something orderly in arrangement. In other words, by implication, a serial basal, fundamental, initial, constituent, proposition, figuratively, element, principle, rudiment. Any first thing from which others belonging to some or complete whole take their rise. An element, first principle, the letter of the alphabet, the letter of speech, not however the written characters, but the spoken sounds. The elements like subatomic particles, the elements from which all things have come. That's right. Like subatomic particles, this is where your science comes in. The elements from which all things have come, the material causes of the universe. Okay? What this word is stating, folks, it's talking about your fundamental sciences. Okay? It's that simple. So what does Mark Gates at Robert Rome Apologetics vainfully bring in once again? Biological providence. The refers to the theological, and there it is, that philosophy. Oh, that's what gets them in trouble. Philosophical intersection. Right off the bat. Let's talk about the basic fundamentals, the building blocks, these elements, do these things happen at random mechanisms, or is Yahweh behind it? Let's just consider how preposterous that is for him to even go with that. And what I'm bringing up, as he brought up Yahshua the Messiah, Yahshua Messiah dealing with lepers, Yahshua Messiah dealing with Peter walking on water, Yahshua Messiah bringing Lazarus back from the dead, Yahshua the Messiah stating in Luke 5:31 the healthy. That's all I'm bringing up. So what does Paul say about this? Take heed, lest there should be anyone that makes spoil of you through his philosophy and his vain deceit, after the tradition of men, after the rudiments of this world, and not after the Messiah. I brought up nothing but Messiah. He's bringing up philosophy, vain deceit, the sciences, which is the rudiments of this world, and he's saying, I'm wrong. Paul's saying, wait a minute, how am I wrong? Wait, how did you come to that conclusion? Verse 9, for in him dwells all the fullness of the majesty on high bodily, and in him you are made full, who is the head of all principality and power. Let me repeat that. He is the head of all principality and power. Okay? Now, where does vaccines fit in that? No. He is, if your faith makes you whole and he is the head of all principality and power, then why do you need me to take a vaccine? To make your vaccine work after you said you believe in faith that that vaccine is going to protect you, which it didn't. See, notice how ridiculous this is. Again, let's take a look right back at what he's asserting. You repeatedly use Yahshua's interaction with lepers, Yahshua walking on water with Peter, Yahshua raising Lazarus from the dead, Yahshua saying in Luke 5:31, the healthy have no need of a physician. Yes, that's correct. Because Paul says clearly, and what is he going to bring up here? This demonstrates a failure to distinguish between spiritual realities and biological providence. Take heed lest there should be anyone that makes sport of you through his philosophy and vain deceit after the traditions of men. After the traditions of men, biological providence, where did you get that from? Hippocrates? Did you get that from Hippocrates? Sure, you got it from Hippocrates. Of course you got it from Hippocrates. This nonsense began with, or goes all the way back to Hippocrates, before Hippocrates, of course, is widely recognized as the father of Western medicine. An ancient Greek, and by the way, he's a man, folks. Hippocrates is a man. An ancient Greek physician. He revolutionized the field by establishing medicine as a rational science, separating it from the myths, religion, and superstitions of the time. Okay? As you see here, he proposed that illness was caused by natural environmental factors, diet, and lifestyle imbalances, rather than punishment from the gods. Okay? This is where that leaven begins to come in. And this is what Paul's talking about in Romans 1. This is what the Greeks, to them, it's, in other words, coming back from the dead, it's foolishness to these guys. And this is where you get, later on, Galen is going to back that up. Where is Mark Gates and Rabbit Room Apologetics getting this nonsense from? They're getting it from another man here. Galen did not believe that diseases were arbitrary, direct punishment sent by God. Right off the bat, this is where they get this stuff from. Okay. I'm bringing up Yahshua the Messiah. You see it out of his own typing. Every example I threw was Yahshua the Messiah. Let's go over to 1 Corinthians 1. In 1 Corinthians 1, I was told I was 29 times more likely to get COVID because I'm not vaccinated. I was told that the Brazilian variant, I was going to get the Brazil variant. I was going to get the UK variant. The Delta variant, which was more contagious than smallpox. Omicron, which was more contagious than the measles. Oh, I was high risk. Then as a bus operator, at that time I was driving buses, dealing with people and living in a red state where masks were pretty much... Now, if you were driving a city bus, since they fall under federal DOT regulations, and Biden was president at that time, those drivers had to wear masks. I was driving privatized buses, which are bigger, 56 passenger buses. I used to drive for the city as well when I was a kid, but the buses I was driving were larger than city transit buses, sitting up to 56 passengers per bus. Okay, no masks. I didn't have to because those buses are privatized. They don't fall under the federal DOT guideline. No COVID, nothing. People coming in and out there, conventions, all that, no, nothing. Okay. Now, because my faith, I believed what Yahshua the Messiah said. I believed what Yahshua the Messiah said. Now let's go to 1 Corinthians 1. In 1 Corinthians 1, this is why at this point now I'm beginning. Again, this video is really more to help out innocent people out there that may see that conversation. But now that I understand Rabbit Room Apologetics better, I realize what I'm dealing with right now. Now I can focus more directly on what the problem is. The problem is not trying to explain maybe if I'm wrong or he's wrong. The problem is it's just pride, the inability to admit you're wrong. And Yahweh's trying to correct you by using the foolish things of this world. That's why we're going to go over to 1 Corinthians 1. This is why it is written. This is why the active living word of Yahweh, the inspired text, is telling people like Mark Bates over at Rabbit Room Apologetics, verse 18. The word of the stake is to them that for the word of the stake is to them that perish foolishness, but to us who are being saved it is the power of Yahweh. For it is written, I will destroy the wisdom of the wise, and the discernment of the discerning will I bring to nothing. All right. Where is the wise? Where is the scribe? Where is the disputer of this world? Has Yahweh not made the wisdom of this world foolish? For seeing that in the wisdom of Elohim, the world through its wisdom did not know Yahweh. It was Yahweh's good pleasure. It was, remember, the world through its wisdom did not know Yahweh. Okay? The world through its wisdom did not know Yahweh. Hippocrates. Are diseases caused by Yahweh or by random chance? Oh, it's just by random chance. Okay? Just by random chance. Yes, because Hippocrates does not know Yahweh. Okay? It was Yahweh's good pleasure through the foolishness of the preaching to save them that believe. Seeing that Jews asked for signs and Greeks, Hippocrates was a Greek. Hippocrates of Kos was a Greek, an ancient Greek physician. See, but you get Mark Bates over here and Rabbit Room Apologetics on here, and they totally throw 1 Corinthians 1 in the trash for Greek medicine. And the Greeks seek wisdom. But we preach Yahshua the Messiah impelled. To Jews a stumbling block, and to Gentiles foolishness. So I bring up Yahshua the Messiah dealing with lepers, Yahshua the Messiah walking on water with Peter, Yahshua the Messiah bringing back Lazarus from the dead, Yahshua the Messiah saying in Luke 5:31, the healthy have no need of physician, only the sick. And what does Mark Bates at Rabbit Room Apologetics do? What does he do? I'll tell you what. What does he do? He accuses me of not understanding biological providence. Seriously. Seriously. Wow. It's like men like that are totally blinded to the scriptures. Totally blinded to what it says. I'm in awe. In awe. 6 years, 3 months, 10 days, no vax, no mask, and still no COVID. Nothing. Oh, that's just a coincidence. I'm a super dodger. The scientists want to study people like me. Why? See, no. Again, listen to the foolishness coming from people like Rabbit Room Apologetics. It's a tragedy. It is a tragedy. Okay. Let's get back over here to this madness. Luke 5:31. Those who are well have no need of physician, but those who are sick, implying that healthy believers who take preventive vaccines lack faith. No. I already stated in my oldest video, if you took the vaccines by faith, I salute you. If you tell me I need to take the vaccine, then you lack faith in the vaccine and in Yahweh that you say sent the vaccine to you. That's what I said. Again, that's the deception of Mark Bates and his wisdom filled with partiality, just hearing what he wants to hear and then throwing the rest in the trash. This demonstrates a failure to distinguish between spiritual realities and biological providence. Wow. Wow. Now, first of all, that's a bunch of nonsense right there. When I see that, I'm like, wow. You go over to Colossians 1, folks. In Colossians 1, we're going to find, you could see clearly in Colossians chapter 1, folks, Yahshua is the head of all principality and power. Okay? All authority has been given to him in heaven and on earth. That means that these diseases that are on earth, they are under his authority. Now, to double down on that, let's go to Colossians 1. Colossians chapter 1. I'm going to begin reading in verse 9. Colossians 1, beginning in verse 9. Colossians 1, beginning in verse 9. For this cause we also, since the day we heard, do not cease to pray and make requests for you, that you may be filled with the knowledge of his will in all spiritual wisdom and understanding, to walk worthily of Yahshua, to all pleasing, bearing fruit in every good work, and increasing in the knowledge of Yahweh, strengthened with all power according to the might of his glory, to all patience and long suffering with joy, giving thanks to the Father who made us meet to be partakers of the inheritance of the saints in light, who delivered us out of the power of darkness and translated us into the kingdom of Yahweh in his love, in whom we have our redemption, the forgiveness of our sins, who is the image of the invisible Yahweh, the firstborn of all creation. For in him were all things created. Notice in verse 16, for in him were all things created. This includes biological diseases. This word, all things, 3956 in the Greek, including all the forms of declension, apparently a primary word, all, any, you can see it right here, pos. All right, individually, each, every, any, all, the whole, everyone, all things, everything. I mean, how far do you want to break this down? How far do you want to break down this word? Yeah, all things, folks. Okay, including biological diseases. Okay, Exodus 15:26 is going to double down on that as well. But right now, let's just go ahead and stick over here to the passage. All things were created that are in heaven and that are in the earth. Was COVID-19 on earth? Was the plague on the earth? Yes, it's on the earth. This is just common sense. For by him, Yahshua Messiah, were all things created that are in heaven and on earth. This is why he has all authority where? In heaven and on earth. Matthew 28:16 verifies that. Visible and invisible. What does that mean? Invisible. That word is number 517 in the Greek, aoratos. Okay? From number 1, a negative particle, and 3707, invisible. Invisible, unseen, or that which cannot be seen. In other words, invisible. Can you see COVID-19? Is COVID-19 visible? No. Can you see it? No. So, as this text clearly says, even in the Greek, even in the Koine Greek, Rabbit Room Apologetics, even in the Koine Greek, all things were created. Verse 16, from in him were all things created in the heavens and on the earth, things that are visible and things that are invisible. That includes COVID-19. It was created by him, for him. Let me read the passage again. Who in the image of the invisible Yahweh, the firstborn of all creation, for in him were all things created. For in him were all things created, in the heavens and upon the earth, things visible and things invisible, whether thrones or dominions or principalities or powers, sciences, you name it, biological diseases, you name it. It means all things. You can't weasel out of this. It means all things. All things have been created through him and to him. All things have been created through him and to him. Okay? It doesn't matter what Hippocrates taught you. Who? There is that Greek wisdom, that nonsense, that kind of who? Man? Beware lest any man spoil you with his flesh. Mark Gates, you've gone the wayward path. I'm serious, folks. Be careful with Mark Gates and Rabbit Room Apologetics, because this is not good. And he is before all things, and in him all things consist. And he is before all things. And in him all things, including COVID-19, consist. I'm bringing up Yahshua the Messiah, dealing with the lepers, Yahshua the Messiah walking on water, Peter, Yahshua the Messiah bringing back Lazarus from the dead, Yahshua the Messiah saying in Luke 5:31, and you're talking about what? This is what you bring up. Here you come along, Rabbit Room Apologetics, with the philosophy of men, the vain deceit of men, the science of man, of unbelieving man, by the way. And Dr. Anthony Fauci, your 2021 American Humanist of the Year Award winner, refers to the theological and philosophical interests of the biological sciences such as evolution and natural selection with the concept of divine providence. I mean, huh? then you start talking about mitigation, and here you are, the guy behind all of that announces right here, the American Humanist Association announces Dr. Anthony Fauci is your 2021 Humanist of the Year. Man's a humanist, a world good without a God. Right here, they're man of the year, flat out. So, are we to be yoked with unbelievers? Are we supposed to be unequally yoked with unbelievers? What fellowship has the Messiah with Belial? What does Paul say about that? Oh, let's throw that out the door. Well, you got to understand Second Temple period. Seriously, you make a mockery. You mock Elohim. Rabbit Room Apologetics. You totally mock him. This is what Paul's warning about people like you. The American Humanist Association, Dr. Anthony Fauci, mitigation. What are you talking about here? A world good without a God. The American Humanist Association considers the integrity of scientific knowledge where information is assigned a degree of certainty according to the weight of evidence. Forget we walk by faith, not by sight. To be essential to a humanist society. Seriously. Will the Son of Man will the Messiah find faith when he returns, Mark? Humanists insist that scientific studies, peer review, this is why Rabbit Room Apologetics has gone the wayward path. They followed this route. Humanists insist that scientific studies, peer reviewed and reproduced in accordance with the highest standards, be the basis of public policy and education. Religious or sectarian doctrine is irrelevant. It is irrelevant, folks. If you're a Christian or Catholic, that's right. That's what your Anthony Fauci, your 2021 American Humanist of the Year award winner, a world good without a God. That is the guy calling the shots. And you got people like Mark Bates on here. Religious or sectarian doctrine. In other words, this whole faith concept it's irrelevant. Faith is irrelevant. But the science, seriously, Rabbit Room Apologetics, there's no weaseling your way out of that. This isn't even a rebuttal. This is why, I'm not going to make too. This is probably going to be the last one on that one because wow. There's nowhere, this is just flat out blasphemy. That's all this is. This is just unbelievable. It's unbelievable. The blasphemy that is coming from what you call scholarship. This is called a joke. This demonstrates a failure to distinguish between spiritual realities and, I'm glad it is. I'm glad it is because this indicates a total lack of faith and it's showing me Yahweh is destroying this wisdom that you call wise. In Luke 5:31, Yahshua is using a medical metaphor. Yes, he is using a medical metaphor. That is correct. To explain why he eats with tax collectors and sinners. He is diagnosing spiritual sickness, not giving a directive against public health. This is ridiculous. When I see stuff like this, folks, again, forgive me. A metaphor has 3 portions to it. When you're dealing with a metaphor, folks, you have the tenor portion of the metaphor, the vehicle portion of the metaphor, okay, and then the meaning of the metaphor. For example, life is a journey, okay? Life is a journey, okay? The object that's being described is life. The condition of existing as a human being, all right? That is the object that's being described. Okay, the object that is being used to describe, the object that is describing the tenor, the object that's being used to describe the tenor is going to be journey. An act of traveling from one place to another. The meaning of the metaphor, life is a journey. Life is a long experience that unfolds for us in the manner of traveling to a destination. Okay? That's what that means. Okay. Does life have a starting point and an ending point? Yes. Life has a starting point and an ending point. Does a journey have a starting point and an ending point? Yes. A journey has a starting point and an ending point. Okay? That doesn't mean, no, life does not have a starting point or an ending point just because journey does. No. Yes, it does. In other words, what, and Mark, and Rabbit Room Apologetics is not the only one to totally not get this. Okay? Yes, Yahshua the Messiah is using a metaphor. By the way, first of all, Yahshua's not even, there's nowhere that even states Yahshua saying, oh, it's just a metaphor. But for argument's sake, yes, I understand that it is being used as a metaphor. Let's take a look at that. Okay, here's this passage right here. The passage shows Luke 5:31. It's not the healthy who need a doctor, but the sick. I have not come to call the righteous, but sinners to repentance. Okay? The righteous is the tenor portion of the metaphor. Okay? Healthy people, all right? Healthy people, let me actually back up here. Healthy people is the vehicle portion that is being used to describe the tenor, which is righteous. All right? Healthy people do not need a physician. The physician being Yahshua the Messiah. They don't. Okay? But the sick do. The sick, okay, the sinners is the tenor. Sick is going to be your vehicle. All right? Healthy people, again, that's going to be the vehicle portion. The righteous is the tenor. Now, this is in correlation with 1 Timothy 1 and 1 Timothy 1. You find in verse 10, actually 1 Timothy chapter 9, 1 Timothy 1:9. 1 Timothy 1:9, as knowing this, that the law is not made for the righteous man. The righteous man does not need the doctor. Okay? A healthy person does not need the doctor. But the sick do. So, does this mean that healthy people do need a doctor? By the way, that word, I don't have my notes on me. I believe it's in the Greek iatros, which comes from the root iomai, which means a physician, a doctor, to be made whole, medicine. Yes, you could even put vaccine in there. It falls under the same narrative. Healthy people do not need a physician, a doctor, medicine. That's why Yahshua the Messiah is using this metaphor to explain this situation here. He's using this to compare the subject matter that he is referencing. Otherwise, the righteous do need a doctor, and sinners don't need a doctor. Okay? That's not why Yahshua chooses this metaphor, because healthy people don't need a doctor, but sick people do need a doctor. This is why he has come to call the righteous. He has not called to come the righteous. He's specifically stating, I have not come to call the righteous. You cannot say, no, he came to call the right. No, that's not what the master says. The master is making it clear, I have not come to call the righteous. Like a doctor does not come to call healthy people. It doesn't matter what Galen says and Hippocrates says. Then let Galen and Hippocrates be your Messiah. Then give me a break. But the sick do. So when a person states this is a metaphor, yes, it is. And what's your point? What is your point? It does not negate the fact that healthy people do not need a physician, an iatros. Period. They don't need medicine. They don't need a doctor. They don't need a physician. They don't need to be made whole. Only a sick person does. And if you think about it, this is why the Pharisees didn't answer back. Because, well, yeah. Because Yahweh Rapha puts diseases on us. And he takes away the diseases he put on us. According to Exodus 15:26. This is why it astonishes me how Mark Gates and Rabbit Room Apologetics. Let's go over to Exodus 15:26. Again, this is why I'm astonished at what he's putting out. Exodus 15:26. They had just crossed over the Red Sea. They're on the other side. They had seen the plagues, everything. Matter of fact, let's back up a little bit more. I've done videos on this. I don't like to repeat that, but just a real quick crash course. Okay. Today, modern vaccines, modern medicine likes to boast that they cured smallpox. Okay. That their vaccines eradicated polio. Notice, and Mark Gates, it's an insult to intelligence. It's now getting, it's sad because now I was hoping he wasn't one of those guys. Now, in other words, it's very clear. Modern medicine, like these humanist doctors and scientists that are calling the shots that you run to, that you go malign yourself with, that you unequally yoke yourself with, when you're told not to, it's flat out right off the bat, telling you they don't acknowledge Yahweh. They don't acknowledge Yahweh. Let's go over to Exodus. And Exodus 7 verse 8, Exodus 7 verse 8. And Yahweh spoke to Moses and to Aaron, saying, when Pharaoh shall speak to you, saying, show us a wonder for then you shall say to Aaron, take your rod and cast it down before Pharaoh, and let it become a serpent. And Moses let it become a serpent. And Moses and Aaron went into Pharaoh, and they did so as Yahweh had commanded. And Aaron cast down his rod before Pharaoh and before his servants, and it became a serpent. What does Pharaoh say earlier? What does he say? Who is this Yahweh that I should listen to him? Who is this Yahweh that I should listen to him? Who is this Yahweh that I should listen to him? A world good without Yahweh. Who is this Yahweh that medical modern science should listen to him? Who is this Yahweh? Funny how we've seen this before, right, Rabbit Room Apologetics? Isn't it funny how we've seen this attitude, Rabbit Room Apologetics? What is this? Religion has nothing to do with science. It's irrelevant. Who is this Yahweh that scientific integrity should listen to him? And yet Rabbit Room Apologetics is totally blinded by the context. Totally. This is just a basic fundamental story right here. Then Pharaoh also called for his wise men, his Hippocrates, his Galen, his Anthony Fauci, his CDC. We could even break this down in the Hebrew, if you like. We could break down these words in the Hebrew to find out. And we know where pharmakia comes from, eventually a little bit from the sorcerers. The sorcery, the same thing. The same thing. And I'm just, wow. So he calls, first of all, think about it. They put down, if somebody was to put a rod down and it turned into a serpent, I'm going to freak out. I'd probably say, yeah, okay, yeah, take children of Israel. Yeah, bye. No, Pharaoh's not moved. He calls in his scientific experts. his wise men of the secret arts. Secret arts, really? You mean the patent protected arts? The patent protected vaccines? Yeah. Mark Gates, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. Seriously. And what do? They're able to do the same thing. Yeah, we can cure polio. We can cure smallpox. That's not Yahweh, that's just... What? What is that? What is that? Let me tell you what that is. Let me tell you what that is. Moses and Aaron. Let me tell you, that is your failure, Moses and Aaron, to understand biological providence. Just random mechanisms. That's all that is. Nope, I'm not letting the children of Israel go. I'm hardening my heart. That is not the Creator. Who is this Yahweh that I should listen to him? Oh, boy. I tried to tell you, Mark Gates, I was looking forward to this one. Like, boy, you have no idea what you're talking about. So, now here comes the first plague. And Moses and Aaron did so. So Yahweh tells them, okay, in the morning, I'm just paraphrasing, when Pharaoh's out there bathing there in the water, in the Nile, go and you strike the Nile River in front of him. Make sure he sees it. Because this is about scientific observation. Science is all about physical observation. See, this is all showing the sorcery. This is why, Mark Gates, you've gone down a wayward path, rabbit room apologetics. Seriously, you have. And Moses and Aaron did so as Yahweh commanded, and he lifted up the rod and struck the waters of the Nile there, right there in the sight of Pharaoh. There's a reason why, in the sight of Pharaoh. And it became blood. And the fish that were in the river died. The Nile, what is it? The fourth largest river in the world, third largest river, one of the top 5 largest rivers on planet Earth. It is huge, and it's turned to blood. Wow. How could Pharaoh not let him go? Well, think about that. Understand the context. Okay? And they could not drink the water of the river and the blood throughout all the land of Egypt. And the magicians, the wise men of Egypt, did in like manner with their enchantment. They were able to duplicate what Moses and Aaron did. And Pharaoh's heart was hardened, and he listened not to them, as Yahweh had spoken. Why is that? Why did he not listen to them? Why did he not listen to them? Why? Because that's just biological providence. It's random mechanisms. It's not Yahweh. It's not Ra. It is not the Creator. It is just random mechanisms. So their heart gets hardened. We cured polio. We cured smallpox. We don't need God. It's the same spiritual warfare taking place today. Seriously, folks, that's why I'm putting this out. Do not be deceived by rabbit room apologetics and their nonsense. Why? Here's the question. Why is Pharaoh not impressed with Aaron's rod turning into a serpent? Why is Pharaoh not impressed with one of the 5 largest rivers on earth turned into blood in front of his sight? Why are people like Mark Bates not impressed that I've gone 6 years, 3 months, and 10 days without without a mask, without COVID-19? When I was told that I am 29 times more this. Why? Why? Well, there's your answer. See how the pattern works? There's your answer. Let's just look. It's just random. It's not Yahweh. It's not Yahweh. It's just random. He didn't choose the foolish things of this world. No, of course. He doesn't destroy the wisdom of the wise. No, Tony. That's not how this works. Just fighting. No, Mark, you're totally out of line. Totally out of line. This isn't even the context of the passage. Verse 8. Now, the next plague. And Yahweh spoke to Moses, go unto Pharaoh and say to him, in this manner says Yahweh, let my people go that they may serve me. If you refuse to let them go, behold, I will plague all your borders with frogs. For the river shall swarm with frogs, which shall go up all over the place. Okay? So, Yahweh tells Moses and Aaron, commence. And Aaron stretched forth his hand over the waters of Egypt, and the frogs came up and covered the land of Egypt. And the magicians and the wise men of Egypt did in like manner with their enchantments, with their sciences, with their sorceries, with their pharmakia, with what they got, and brought up frogs also in the land of Egypt. So, again, Pharaoh's heart is going to be what, Mark? Pharaoh's heart's going to be what? What's the problem? Pharaoh's heart's going to get hardened again. Why? Because of biological providence, random mechanisms. It's not the creator. No, of course not. All things are not created through him, for him, by him. No. Who is this Yahweh? Who is this Yahweh that we should listen to him? We have proper mitigation, proper sciences. Right here, it's just common sense. God gave us a brain, even though we don't need God. Seriously, rabbit room apologetics, you ought to be ashamed of yourself, man. Seriously. Well, that all is going to change with the plague of the lice. I'll be out over that, and I'll strike the dust. And COVID begins to mutate and mutate and mutate. And all of a sudden, what? Whoa. Here comes Brazil variant, Delta variant, Omni variant, the Omicron, Deltacron. On and on and on and on. Raise your throat all over the place. Right? This is the hand. This is the finger of Elohim. But by that time, Pharaoh's heart's already hardened. Why? Why? Because of scientific mitigation. Because of the science. Because vaccines cured polio. Because vaccines cure smallpox. When Yahweh blessed man with vaccines, Dr. Edward Jenner was a devout Christian. He was a devout Christian. His father was a Christian minister. His grandfather was a Christian minister. His brother was a Christian minister. He came from a line of good Christian people. As a good man. And he's also considered one of the top 5 scientists of all time. All time. Now, Edward Jenner, I don't have his quote directly. I have it in my notes again. I'm not giving you due justice to this, but he does quote later on. He says, "It doesn't surprise me," and I'm just paraphrasing. It's not a direct quote, but paraphrasing what he's saying. It doesn't surprise me that man does not give him a lot of credit for what he did, that invention of vaccines. But he does state, but he wonders if man will forget that he was just an instrument. That's all he was. He's admitting he was just an instrument for the divine power that Yahweh gave him to convey to his fellow creatures. Edward Jenner is on record, and that's just paraphrasing the quote. Feel free to look that up. I don't have it in my notes. That's it. Question is, Edward Jenner, why he's blowing up the fact game? It doesn't matter that mankind doesn't really give me that much credit for that invention, but he's wondering, is mankind going to forget that he was just an instrument to the divine power Yahweh gave him to convey? Otherwise, he says, he's trying to make, not that he was any special or any brilliant, it's because that power came from above. So when you go over to what he's doing is, as a devout Christian, he's well aware of Proverbs 3. Edward Jenner was well aware of Proverbs chapter 3. Proverbs 3, beginning in verse 5 through 8, Proverbs 3, 5 through 8. This, trust in Yahweh with all your heart, and lean not upon your own understanding, which is what Edward Jenner did. In all of your ways, Edward Jenner acknowledged him, and he did. Edward Jenner acknowledged Yahweh. And he will direct your paths. Well, did he? Yeah. The guy created what no other man can create. Be not wise in your own eyes. Edward Jenner wasn't. He admitted it. It's just an instrument. Fear Yahweh and depart from evil. It will be health to your navel. It will be health to your navel and marrow your bones. Medical science, right there. Right there. So, today, a world good without God. The American Human Association. And Mark Bates and this rather seriously, huh? Exodus 15:26. When the children of Israel get to the other side, after they saw the devastation, and boy, did Yahweh reap judgment. How did the destroyer differentiate between those are the children of Israel and those are the Egyptians? How did the molecules, and see, this is what Mark Bates, you don't want to talk about this. You don't want to talk about it. See, but now you get mixed up with your vain deceit after the rudiments of this world, after the traditions of men, after the American Human Association and their sciences. That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Knowing that Yahweh will destroy the wisdom of the wise, yet you call yourself a biblical theologian. Exodus 15:26, and I'll finish up, guys. Exodus 15:26. Exodus 15:26. This is why on the other side of the Red Sea, Exodus 15:26, Yahweh declares, and he said, if you will diligently listen to the voice of Yahweh your Elohim, and will do that which is right in my eyes, and will give ear to his commandments, and keep all his statutes, I, referring to Yahweh, not me, I, Yahweh referring to himself, will put none of the diseases on you. He's declaring, I'm the one that puts diseases on people. I will put none of the diseases on you, which I have put on the Egyptians, for I am Yahweh Rapha, Yahweh who heals you. Right there, he's making it clear. This is why he's saying, I will put none of the diseases on you that I put on the Egyptians, because he's the one that put them on the Egyptians. Had Pharaoh come up with a vaccine, Mark Bates, to stop the destroyer from killing the firstborn, would it have worked? No, because the healthy have no need of a physician. Only the sick do. Because Yahshua the Messiah knows his Father is the one that controls diseases, created diseases, all things through him and for him. It is your faith that makes you whole. That's what's doing. That's doing righteously. Not this garbage that you're talking about. This evolution, that's ridiculous. It's just random chance. It's just random. No, you think it's random. No, that's not how this works. And the scriptures could acknowledge Yahweh in all of your ways. If we are to acknowledge Yahweh in all of our ways, if we are to acknowledge Yahweh in all of our ways, then what is biological providence, Mark? If we are to acknowledge Yahweh in all of our ways, what is biological providence, Mark? Again, I give you Yahshua the Messiah interacting with lepers, Yahshua the Messiah walking on water with Peter, Yahshua the Messiah bringing Lazarus back from the dead, Yahshua the Messiah stating Luke 5:31. You tell me this demonstrates a failure to distinguish between spiritual realities and biological providence when Proverbs 3:5-8 says we are to acknowledge Yahweh in all of our ways. You're saying no, they got to be separated. No, this is blasphemy. This is false doctrine. Totally debunked. Proverbs 3:5-8. We see this critical distinction. We see this critical distinction between the children of Israel and the Egyptians. That's what you should be preaching. We see this critical distinction between the physical and the spiritual in Mark 7. When addressing the extra-biblical traditions of ritual hand washing, oh boy, this is really going nowhere at this point here. This is where, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up because he's no. Again, I was looking for this. I'm just touching. This is the tip of the iceberg. Again, as much as I was looking forward to discussing this topic with Rabbit Room Apologetics, I realize it's worthless to do so because there's a problem with Rabbit Room Apologetics. It's pride and arrogance to be able to see their error. Okay? Again, there's nothing wrong with people taking vaccines through faith if they believe that Yahweh sent them the vaccine to protect them. Again, I applaud you. But when you begin to tell me I need to take a vaccine to help protect you, then you're saying that Yahweh has gotten too weak to protect you with the faith that you claim to have. No, that's a little faith. And again, Yahshua the Messiah, you don't see him using tools of medicine, tools of Darwin. No, it is your faith that makes you whole. When he's going up to the centurion's servant, I'm just touching the tip of the iceberg. His intent is to go and touch him, pray over him, heal him. It is. He doesn't even make it up the hill. He doesn't even make up the hill. The centurion tells him, trouble not yourself. I'm a man set in authority like you. I'm an officer with rank, a major, a colonel. Just give the word. Just give the word. In other words, he has an understanding of how angels work. Just give the word. I do the same thing. Go here, there. Yahshua turns around. What does he say, Robert Apologetics? I have not seen such great faith, no, not in all of Israel. And the servant was cured that moment. He doesn't even get up the hill. How is that? Why? Even though Yahshua was intending to go and touch him or pray over him, it was the faith that the centurion had that caused Yahshua to go no further. Because the faith that you have, Romans 14, you have between yourself and Yahweh. That's what Paul is saying in again, Romans 14. So, Tony Cavanas is not on record as saying, if you take vaccines, you're going to know. It is people like you, Mark, that help propagate this false teaching about unvaccinated people. You are so wrong, and you're teaching nothing but the philosophy of men and the vain deceit of men that is after the rudiments of this world, and it's not after the Messiah. Repent. And folks, if you're a Christian or Catholic, stay away from that nonsense, because it's going to lead many people astray. Love you, folks. Y'all bless you. We'll talk again very soon.